Good morning. Today I want to share with you a little bit about doing a little bit of embroidery on the front of a little girl's bucket hat. I made one yesterday. I have two little girls that are in my life. They're not my grandchildren, but I love them. They're not related to me at all, but I love them very much. And they are Amelia and Madison. And Madison is 5 months old, and this is her little bucket hat. And Amelia is 3, and this is going to be her hat. And this will be the outside, and this will be the lining. And I'm going to put her initial on the front of her hat here, and I'll make some yo-yos. These are just quilted little yo-yos that I put on here. Well, let me see if I can get it in the camera view. So that nothing is on the hat that's going to choke or strangle or, you know, anything. I didn't put any buttons or, you know, no eyelets, no straps, nothing. So that it's safe, and I'm going to do the same with Amelia's little hat. But I wanted to share a little bit about, and I've got a lot of videos in the groups and on my channel about doing machine embroidery and how to get started with your Bernina. But this is a fairly simple little project that you can use if you just got or are brand new to Bernina. And the pattern is it's called the Pepper Street Bucket Hat for Baby and Kids. And Tie-Dye Diva is the designer of the pattern, and you do have to pay for this, and I think it was $6, but you get all the sizes from Jeepers. Child's extra extra small to adult extra extra large. You get all the sizes that you would ever need to make a bucket hat. I could see this done for an older, maybe retired gentleman and have a fish on here and maybe say go on fishing, or, you know, there's just so many possibilities that it'll be a ton of fun to see what you do with this, can do with this pattern. So since my letter for Amelia's first name, an A, I'm going to use the same font as I used here, which I got from Designs by Juju, and I believe it's called Curly Swirls. And you can find that on their site. I'll leave a link for it in the description box for you too, and for the pattern. But I'm going to use my little medium-sized hoop. You could probably use the smallest hoop too. And I'm using some cutaway. This is cutaway stabilizer. And I'm just going to hoop this up real quick. And I've got my hoop undone quite a ways, and I don't need to use a clip or a spring or anything to keep it open. It just does. So now I'm going to tighten my hoop just a bit, and I'm going to use my little screwdriver, the end of my little screwdriver, to tighten my hoop. And you don't want to tighten your hoop too tight. You know, if you crank it down too tight, the more that this comes in, the more these go out. You know, it just is a kind of a mathematical law that that's going to happen. So now I'm going to burp my hoop, and that means I'm going to push it out about 1/16 of an inch all the way around, so that the inner hoop is just a little bit further out than level. I don't want it to be. So there we go. Got it all kind of pushed out there. And now because this is going to be, I need to have my letter in here centered. So we need to, where'd my ruler go? Here it is. We need to find the center on the hoop. And I'm just going to use a friction pen. And I'm going to find the center on my hoop. Both directions, both north and south and east and west. And they're very easy because you can just see the markings on the hoop and just make your mark. So now there's my center of my hoop. And now I need to do the same thing to the piece of fabric that I'm going to use. And typically I would hoop 2 layers, or I would hoop 1 layer and float 1 layer of stabilizer. Usually it's best to use 2 layers of stabilizer. But I have interfaced my little bucket hat with Woven Fuse 2, and it's a fairly stable interfacing. So I'm going to call this my second layer of stabilizer for today. So now what I've got to do, and of course the wide side is the bottom, and the narrow side goes against the cap, the very top part of the little hat. So I have to remember that this is the bottom, so I'll put a little B there so that I don't get mixed up. And I'm just going to fold this in half and put a little, just a light crease in it, not anything too crazy. And now I can see it, and I'm just going to mark it right down the line of my crease. So I'll put a little mark here, and let's see, what do we got here? We've got 3 3/8 inches, so that is going to be 1 3/4 almost is going to be the center. So let's come down 1 3/4, and then we'll go back 1/8, and that's going to be my center. So now I'm going to use my ruler and line up one of the straight lines on my ruler with my line that my first line that I made, and I'm going to make my middle line. And now I know the center of my fabric where I want my embroidery. Okay, so now all it is a matter of lining up the lines. So you can kind of pick it up and look, and you can see just where you're at. So you need to come down just a skosh. And now my sides and my top and bottom are aligned. So now I'm going to put a pin, and I'm going to put it way out toward the edge, so it's way far away from the stitching field. And if you want to try to use some 505 spray, you can, but it's gonna stick to your lining when you try to put your lining in. So, and I don't want to use a basting box. You know, you could use a basting box, but this interfacing is quite heavy, so it'll leave holes in this, and I don't want to see those. So we are all hooped up now, and we're ready to go over and pull up our design and do Amelia's initial here. So we'll move over to the sewing machine and we'll get busy with a pretty little stitch. Alrighty, we're here at the machine, And I had the 770 Bernina, and I've just turned my machine on. So let's tell it that we want to do embroidery. So we'll go to the embroidery side, and it's reminding me to put my feed dogs down. So I'll do that. And I had this A pulled up before so I could check it, but let's pretend that this is my first time coming into my system. And so I'm going to move this little, I'm going to go up one level. There's file folder here, has a little gray arrow that goes up. And here are my folders, and there's my USB stick. So I bought this design, downloaded it to my laptop, and then moved the letter. I put it into my Embrilliant software. I bought the BX file of this alphabet and put that into my Embrilliance. And I do have some videos, a couple of different videos on my channel for downloading designs and moving them to your USB stick. So I've done that, and up here is my USB, so we'll get on that. These are all the designs I have on there right now, and there should only be one or two, but I'm terrible. I have too many designs on all my USB sticks. But here's Amelia's A, so we'll get that. And you see that it's put it in my small hoop, and what you saw me put my piece of fabric in earlier was my medium hoop. So I'll need to come over here to the hoop selection, and I'm going to have to tell my machine that it's in a different hoop. So I've done that. Also, my fabric is hooped a different way, lengthways. So I'm going to have to rotate my design. So we'll go to the information icon, and this is your rotate or turn. And I can turn it 1 degree at a time, or I can turn it 90 degrees at a time, which I want to do since it goes so fast. So now I have my little A in the right hoop and going the right direction. And I'm not going to do anything else to it. This font comes in quite a few different sizes, and I just used my ruler to decide how big I wanted the A to be. So I'm going to be using the 1.5 inch size font. The next size smaller was too little, and the next size bigger would have fit, but was, to me, too close to my seam allowances. So I'm just going to use the 1.5 inch size. It'll be just fine. And if I wanted to, I could here on my machine enlarge or reduce it by 10% or 20% or so. But I'm just going to leave it. So I'm done editing and doing all the things that I need to do. So I'm going to touch the needle and send it to the machine and let the machine know that I am completely ready to start stitching. So it brought my arm over. You heard that probably come over, and now it's asking me to attach the hoop. Sometimes it'll go through some different calibration thingies, and it might want to move the arm or get into position, get things into position. And so you have to kind of follow the prompts and just watch your screen, and you'll know what it's asking for. Your machine will ask you a lot of things. So, all right, it's asking me to put the hoop on, so I'm going to do that. I'll get the hoop on. There we go. And now it's asking, I'm going to show you, it's asking me to let it go to the position of the first stitch. It wants to move the hoop to the position of the first stitch. So I'm going to touch my little arrow and it moved it. So now we are ready to start stitching. And so I am going to bring up my bobbin thread, which is something I always do. And you can do that with your needle up-down key. And that little buzz is a systems check that it goes through real quick. And this is my first stitch of the day, so anytime you just turn your machine on, you'll hear that buzz the first stitch, and it's a systems check. Nothing wrong with your machine. Okay, my green light is flashing, so I'm going to tell it to go ahead. I'll go ahead and push my go button. And, oh, okay, it's asking me a question. It's trying to protect me from doing something stupid, which I might. So I'm going to tell it. I did not tell it what presser foot I had on. So now I'm going to do that. And now it's happy, and it's got the 0mm plate. All right, now we should be able to take off and rock and roll. I love the way these machines protect us from ourselves. All right, I want to trim this thread right here. There we go. There we go. Now it's going to do the whole day. 4 minutes. It will take 4 minutes. Want to say that if you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, you can certainly contact me. I don't mind at all. I'm glad to help if I can. If I don't know the answer to your question, you'll find someone who does, and we'll learn it together. I'm using a 7511 needle. I'm using a 60 weight bobbin thread from Invisifill. That's my favorite. And I have a 40 weight embroidery thread from Sulky in my top threading. I very rarely ever touch the tensions on my machine. I have never changed the tension in my bobbin. Once in a great while I might adjust top tension just a little bit. And I don't have my yellow bobbin in today. I'm using the black bobbin. I always oil and clean my machine, clean my thread catcher. I do that every day. But I sew a lot, so, and I live in a house that's got a lot of dry air, so I usually take that into consideration when I'm thinking about how much oil or cleaning my machine needs. And there we go, all done. All right, so I'm going to take this back over to my workstation and finish assembling Amelia's little hat and make some yo-yos to put on there. And I hope this video was fun for you and helps you with your embroidery adventures. Have a great day. See you next time.